I can't do it.
Welcome to the Doppio podcast, everyone. My name is Emil, and I'm joined today by my co-hosts Castleman and Renzo.
Hello,
Hello, I am Castleman.
I am Renzo.
And
So, gentlemen,
which of
today,
us is
boys,
the Lisan Al Gaib?
which one of us is the Lisan Al Gaib? That's the question today.
Look, anyone
Um,
can be the Lisan Al Gaib, but I'll be a believer. I'm a believer.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if anyone can be, if just anyone can be the Lisan Al Gaib, but
You have to be
anyway,
a really generic white guy.
you have to be a really
Or
generic white guy named Paul.
I guess.
So we're going to be talking about Dune 2 today, if you haven't
Mhm.
guessed. But before we get to that, let's rewind the clock back a little bit. Let's go back to the year 2021.
Ooh.
Dune Part 1, directed by Denis Villeneuve.
Ooh.
What was your guys' experience with this film, and what was your experience with Dune as a whole back then when this first film came out, the first part?
So, I watched this movie not knowing anything about Dune. Like I hadn't done anything. I hadn't read the book really. I think I had bought the book and tried to read it, but I was mostly unsuccessful. My copy of the book I bought it like summer 2021, I think, and I've been trying to read it ever since. But I so I go into this movie and I'm pretty blind. I hadn't seen any other version of it. I loved it so much. And I know a lot of the criticism around this first part is, oh, it's half a story, half of whatever. I loved it so much, man, and I think it was the perfect place to end things. And I think it's so fulfilling as a part one. And this felt like it felt to me like, oh, this is like the modern day Lord of the Rings of our time in terms of a big sweeping epic sci-fi fantasy or whatever escapist media. I remember I first saw Dune Part 1 in IMAX and I was just shocked. And like, if you want I can, do a throwback to my review back on Letterboxd back when I first saw this movie back in 2021. My first reactions to it were, if you give me like a second to pull it up, because Letterboxd, I accidentally again. Oops. Okay. There we go. My first reaction to this movie, back then was, holy shit, the credits are rolling as I write this, and I can't think of a single noteworthy flaw. This guy's the type of sci-fi fantasy film I dream of, the kind of cinema that makes me love this art form so much, the kind of thing that feels exactly for me. The film movie that completely envelops me in a vastly foreign world and society, brought to life with such spectacular draw-breaking filmmaking, my jaw... It was great. Yeah, so anyway, I really liked part one.
I can that, which is really interesting. Renzo, how about you? What's your experience with Dune?
I'm kind of like Castleman in terms of the experience of Dune. I have never heard of Dune before, up until Denis Villeneuve announced, "Oh, I'm adapting Dune, this sci-fi classic from the '60s." So I went to the bookstore. Um, I was at least able to read the first half where the movie stopped. I think I read at least like book one, and then I saw the movie. But unfortunately, movie theaters were still closed during that time in the Philippines. Um, the movie got leaked online, and that's how I saw Dune Part One. Sadly,
Allegedly.
Gasp!
yeah,
What
yeah.
have you admitted? You're recorded right now, Renzo. What have you done?
What have
I
you
it's
allegedly done, Renzo? What have you
it's
allegedly
What have
done?
you allegedly done?
it's all in the name of it's all in the name of the Lisan Al Gaib. So
I will say we didn't have the exact same experience because
I guess
on my first viewing, I gave it 5 stars. Well, back in 2021, what did you give it?
four
Oh my
stars.
god, man is pulling out the letterbox receipts.
I
That's
thought it
I
was
gave
crazy.
it
three and a
four.
half actually.
No, I gave it 4 stars.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. I
Uh,
wrote this long for Dune Part One. The heck. Okay.
so I also like Castleman had never heard of Dune. Well, I had never heard of it. I don't know if you said you hadn't heard of it or not, but I had never heard of it, and I just had heard like it was the hype movie of the year, and I really wanted to watch it. So I actually caught an early screening of it back in October 2021. And I really liked it. It was honestly a lot. I remember I watched the Thug Notes video on it on before I was like in line waiting for the movie. And I really admired the world. I thought it was super cool. And honestly, it wasn't until much later that my love for this movie really grew. It's if you look at my letterbox reviews, I started out giving it a 4 star. Then the next time I watched it, I gave it 4.5. And then the most recent time I watched it, which was this year. So both of those times that were in October 2021. But the most recent time I watched it, which is February of this year, I gave it 5 stars. So it's just I've only liked it more as time has gone on, and I've learned to like understand and appreciate the story. But it really, really hooked me in to this universe, and I actually I got a copy of Dune Part One around the time that the movie was coming out, and I tried reading it, and I just couldn't. I was like at a point in my life where I was just like not interested in reading, but now I am, and I'm really glad I did because I picked it back up, and I'm currently through in the middle of book two
There it
of Dune,
is.
and I've really really enjoyed it. And honestly, that's kind of everything I've read in the last couple of years has only really been nonfiction. This is the first like fiction book that I'm jumping back into.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you, Frank Herbert, for making me love
Uh,
reading it.
in terms of star rating, yeah, I've always been 4 stars for this movie, which I've been told crazy for giving it 4 stars.
I'm just joshing you.
No. It's cool. It's cool because I'm relating this. Um, so 4 stars. One of my friends, Adrian, she told me I was insane for giving that movie 4 stars, but I did promise her that if I see Dune Part 2 and if it stuck the landing, which we'll be talking about later, that I would change it into 5 stars. So I guess yeah. Now that I've seen Part 2, I will say that I changed my mind from 4 stars. It's now a 5 star movie.
Yeah.
Great movie. Yeah.
um, so let's kind of get into part two a little bit. What were your expectations going into this film? When Dune Part One, actually just set the scene a little bit. When Dune Part One came out, it was kind of uncertain as to whether or not they were going to do a Dune Part Two. And
Mhm.
as we have all learned from the David Lynch adaptation, which, by the way, Doppio Entertainment Podcast, the Doppio Podcast, Episode 1 on the David Lynch's Dune, available now. Um, go watch that if you haven't. Uh, that movie tried to adapt the entirety of Dune into one movie, and it very much did not work. So
Yeah.
there was a lot of concern going in, like when the first movie came out, that it was not gonna. Dune's a weird and out there concept, and I guess the thought was that people weren't gonna vibe with this movie, weren't gonna like it. It was also in the like still in 2021, so the movie was still going on HBO Max at the time, day and date. So people were really concerned about the box office of this film, given the subject matter, the environment that it was released in. Um, so they were concerned that this movie was gonna just end with a cliffhanger, or it was gonna try to adapt too much into one book, which both options would be pretty bad. Um, but then we sat down on that fateful day in the theater, in October 2021, and there it was in the right in the title of the movie. They never did this in any of the marketing, but it said Dune Part 1. And all the marketing, this movie was just called Dune. So that reassured a lot of people, and then shortly after they confirmed the sequel. But
And
let
I
me
will
tell
say,
you guys.
I gave Dune Part 1 5 stars before it was cool.
Yeah, you did do that.
I'm the only one here who gave it 5 stars out of the first. I'm walking out of the first viewing. I was like, 5 stars. I don't
You
need to
saw
see
the
part 2.
future.
I saw the future. Maybe I am the least on Algae. Maybe I am a generic enough white guy. Who knows? But I I yeah, no. It was
It's a great movie,
great movie.
Yeah.
and it was like it was so like it was honestly I thought that was such a ballsy move to like just market this movie as Dune and then just hit that in the theater. I thought that was so cool. And honestly, let me tell you guys, I don't think anyone was prepared, or at least I wasn't prepared for how good Dune Part 2 was.
Mhm.
Holy shit, guys. I expected to like this movie, but I was blown away on a level that I didn't really expect to be blown away. But forget about my thoughts for now. What do you guys think?
Castleman, would you want to go first?
I think I should go last.
Okay. All
All
right.
right.
I'll just say straight up, Dune Part 2. I love this movie, man. It is definitely one of the best movie going experiences that I've experienced in recent memory. And like what's even crazy to think that the impact of this movie was so huge that a lot of people are talking about Dune now. Like it's basically Dune's time to shine. You know, like there's Dune memes because of maybe the Dune popcorn bucket. Clearly, what Denis was going for part two, he wanted to make like a bigger impact of what his first Dune movie uh did, and honestly, he succeeded. Like, this is like a bigger footprint, like a bigger footprint of what he did from the previous movie. So yeah, love this movie.
Yeah. In a nutshell, I pretty much agree. It's one of the best movie going experiences I've ever had, and I would argue this is one of the best movies in the last 10 years. Um, like I think leaving this theater the first time, I uh, I haven't felt this way since the Batman, and I think it kind of surpassed that for me, honestly. It just is a movie that is so intricately crafted by an artisan director, truly, someone who knows their craft and has a deep understanding of this world that Frank Herbert laid out, and made some of the most incredible directing and adaptational choices I think in the history of the medium. And just wow, this movie is just such a treat, like in all aspects. Like it's just I was sitting there with my jaw on the floor on my third time watching it. Um, I like haven't been able to stop thinking about this movie since I first saw it. And just it's incredible how it manages to be almost 3 hours, but still feel like I could use another scene in it. And I want to see more. Um,
And you want
yeah,
to see it again.
and I want to see it again. Yeah, I am
Right.
going to see it a fourth time.
Oh my god.
I will be seeing it a fourth time.
Woo.
Um, but what about you, Castleman? What do you think?
Have you both said your ratings?
Oh,
Dude, yeah, 5 stars. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, like no
yeah,
doubt,
I'm also 5 stars. This is a
five
5 star
bang.
banger
This is a
easily.
5 bang. And you know what? I'm gonna introduce a new thing to the podcast that we have used behind the scenes. This was a movie tote bag movie.
Vito.
This
Ooh.
this is
Ooh.
this is the this is the epitome of movie tote bag movies. Um,
Really? I feel like it's a little bit. I don't know if it's a movie tote bag movie, but we can discuss
this is
that.
this is an IMAX baseball cap movie as well.
There we go. I agree with that one.
Yeah. Now that I think about it, I'm sorry, Emil. It's not a movie tote bag movie.
I think it's a movie tote bag movie.
Maybe,
I feel
maybe
like
it's a
movie tote
letter.
bag movie is like more of like a persona. by Ingrid
Yeah.
Bergman. That is the epitome of a movie tote bag movie. I don't know if Dune Part 2 is quite in the same conversation in on that specific lens, but it's
Just
semantics at
wait.
the end of the day.
Just wait, man. Just wait a few years till this movie gets in the Criterion Collection, all that shit. You'll see. You'll see. Just wait. It'll be a movie tote bag movie with age.
So,
Okay.
I would like to talk about my experience seeing this movie.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So, my experience was you guys being able to go to the IMAX early screenings on Sunday,
Yes.
like 5 days before it comes out, and saying, "Dude, this movie is so great! Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh!" And so, I'm dealing with that in the group chat for a little bit, and so I'm just sort of vegetating on that, knowing I won't be able to see it till Thursday. And then I see it on Thursday. And maybe I'm doing too much build up, but I don't think I loved it as much as you guys. I mean, I think when I walked out I was a 4.5 stars. Like, I really liked it, and I was like wondering if I had maybe liked the first one better, which is ironic because again I was like one of the biggest fans of the first one. The first one was my favorite movie of 2021, and so I was very much I don't want to call me a skeptic, but
I definitely got that vibe. I definitely got that vibe talking to you.
Because maybe it was overhyped for me, because that could have been a factor. Or maybe if we want to be really honest, the second half of this movie, I had to go really badly and I was holding it. So I wasn't wasting my water during the movie. So Stilgar would be proud of me.
Stilgar would be proud.
But it did kind of have me a little freakish out a little bit, you could say, in that second half. And maybe I wasn't like able to enjoy it as much as I could have. I mean, I could. Here's my thing. Just from context to me. Yes, you could say, why didn't you just go to the bathroom? I'm like, true, and I tell you, that would have been an option for anyone but me, because I remember I went to go see The Martian back in 2015, and I had to go 30 minutes into that movie, and I held it the next 2 hours. And after that day, I was like, I can hold my bladder through any movie that ever comes my way. And so I stay true to that, and I still gave Dune Part 2 a 4.5 stars. But I walked out and I was like, guys, I really loved that, but I don't know. And then I just sort of walked around thinking about the movie. And because this movie gives you a lot to think about. It's not an easy, digestible ending, I don't think. I don't think I would call that at all. It's a movie that gives me like a lot to consider and a lot to ruminate on. And I was overwhelmed. I think that might be the best word. Especially because I had to pee. And so but after thinking about it, after about 3 hours of thinking and it not leaving my brain, I was like, if I'm thinking about it this much and I can't think about anything else and I can't focus on anything else after seeing this movie, and these thoughts are not negative, it's just overwhelming, I think this is a 5-star movie. So I did change it on up to 5 stars after 3 hours. But you guys have been wanting to record this episode for a while because you guys have been able to see it several times, but I'm like, I can't. I have to see this movie again before I can really understand what I can say about it, what I can understand about it, what I can really articulate what this movie is saying and what this movie is meaning to me. So we've delayed it, and I finally got to see the movie again today.
And does it still hit as hard as last time?
It did not hit as hard as last time.
I see.
Because Last time it didn't hit that hard. It hit pretty hard, but it was like a pretty soft punch. This one, I was slammed in the face with Akihiko's iron knuckles and shot into a wall because, dude, I at the moment I knew that this was a special movie. The moment that I knew that this movie was something, this was like a once in a lifetime type movie. Remember, you know, the scene early on into the movie where Chani and Paul are like having their first sort of romantic scene and they're looking out at the dunes. You know? There's this tilt where it's tilting up from them to show their view. Because at first you're not seeing what they're really seeing. You're just seeing the sand in front of you. But then it tilts up to where you can see the horizon at the top of the screen. I cried. I don't know if I teared up at least. I don't know what it was. It was when I was listening to them say, it was the fact that this tilt wasn't cut. It was like it was a combination of the wonderful performances by Zendaya and Timothée Chalamet, the dialogue, but that and the music by Hans Zimmer. But all of that combined with this tilt. I can't.
What a choice, man. What a choice. I know exactly what you're talking about. That was excellent.
This is one of the best movies maybe of our generation. This is an all-timer. This is a movie that gives you so much to think about, so much to sit with. Denis Villeneuve he's already proved himself as a master, but this time he proved himself as, you might even say, the Lisan al-Gaib himself.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, yeah, dude. I think I echo everything you have to say. I think this is a generational movie, and I think just I'm so happy we live in a world where this is getting the spotlight now. You know, from what I saw, apparently the movie's already made back the worldwide box office of the original.
Not the worldwide. It's already made past the domestic box office.
Domestic, my bad. Yeah.
Yeah, it will surpass it worldwide. This movie is doing so well. It's like an almost 50% increase on everything in its opening weekend. Like,
yeah,
and hasn't even released in huge markets like Japan or China yet. And it's doing crazy numbers, and it is so deserved. I think I've decided that this is Denis Villeneuve's best movie.
Wow.
And I love Denis Villeneuve. But this is an accomplishment. This is a monumental achievement on a scale that I'm still trying to comprehend.
I mean, now that I think about it... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Kafka.
But now that I think about it, like having seen this film like 3 times, this is like one of the purest science fiction fantasy films that we've had in a very long time. Like, can you tell me when's the last time that we had this? I mean, sure, we had Dune 2021, but it just wasn't that pure. Like, you really feel that you're in a sci-fi fantasy world. Like, just the opening eclipse sequence, like, dude, when those Harkonnens were dropping off their ships, I felt that sci-fi retro vibe that I see like on TV. Like, it's very retro sci-fi, but it looks so modern and it has that Denis Villeneuve style. I'm like, dude, hell yes, I am in it. I am on my knees, Denis. I am praising you to the heavens. Thank you for giving us this. This is his gift to us, and honestly, I'm glad that I get to see this movie. Like, in the best way possible.
I want to add, currently it's number 6 on the Letterboxd top 250 narrative features.
It will go down with time. It usually does.
Yeah.
But it's deserved.
But it is very much deserved.
I think it's deserved.
I very much am there with you. I think it is deserved. Yeah, this is. So where do we even start with this? Like getting into this. I wanted to, one of the things that I wrote down in my notes that I wanted to talk about was that opening image
The
of the
fetus.
corpses being burned. Oh, the fetus as well, but I mean I'm talking the opening image on Arrakis. The
Okay.
corpses being burned. Um, I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know what it was about that, but it just that hit me so fucking hard. I was like, damn. Starting off from the cut from the fetus straight to that, just I knew we were in for something special. This movie has a certain rhythm to it
Mm.
that I don't think the first one had. Like, I think the movie just a masterpiece of editing as well. Like it just flows so well into the next scene and it's so remarkably paced for being 2 hours and 46 minutes, I believe.
Can I add
Um,
something to that?
yeah,
Can I add something to what you just mentioned?
yeah.
So, Denis Villeneuve got asked like what was one of his templates for like Dune Part Two, and one of those templates was the Looney Tunes
Mm,
cartoons, specifically the Roadrunner. When he was asked why, Denis said, "Momentum. I want to keep the momentum going because
mm.
if you watch those Roadrunner episodes, they have really good momentum, and that's what I want for Dune Part Two." So you can see the rhythm basically and the momentum just going and
Yeah,
going.
you can definitely feel that in this film. I also want to add the visual effects in this film. I just saw something that the posted by the or some interview from with the VFX team, but they mentioned that one of the reasons it was so good is just the clear vision on the director's end, like knowing what they were gonna do, blocking the scenes around the VFX, and having everything just be a lot more cohesive. And that reminds me a lot of Godzilla minus one. Actually, Yamazaki, the director, he was also the VFX supervisor, which just lends to just is a cool showing that like the vision just stretches out to all aspects of production and being able to be there and and do that is just cool. Um, yeah,
Getting
Yeah.
a nomination right next year.
I
yeah,
mean, for
I hope it does.
dude,
Yeah.
Greek Fraser better get nominated again for best cinematography because I loved what he did in Dune Part One, and of course I loved what he did in the Batman,
Hmm.
and that's still maybe his best work. But holy shit, this movie, the
Yeah.
this movie is filmed so well in a blend with the special effects. But Fraser, I think, and I will maintain that he is the best DP working in Hollywood right now. Like I love me some Roger Deakins and I love me some Hoyt van Hoytemas and the others, but I really do feel like he is so innovative and he is so precise and technical and creative with how he films things. And like he is not a DP where you can just cherry pick, oh, this is good cinematography because I can cherry pick these shots. Genuinely, almost every shot in this film is beautiful.
Oh
Absolute
yeah.
beautiful. Like you can a simple scene of Zendaya and of Chani and Paul talking in a tent is like heartbreaking because of the way it's shot. And it's so well done. I am I'm astounded by what this guy can do. The scope of this. I'm yet to see this movie in IMAX. I definitely will. But I just seeing it on a regular screen, it feels like IMAX even when it's on a regular screen. Like it's the way that things are framed and scaled, especially in regards to the sandworms, is something to behold, man.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's like um I don't know, it's just like when I read Dune, I just can't imagine it looking any other way. Like when I read the book now.
Yeah.
Um yeah, this is some incredible cinematography work and some Greg Fraser's finest work for
I
sure.
mean, I mean, didn't didn't Deakins even praise Greg Fraser's work for the Batman? So who knows
No.
Yeah.
when
I
when
listened to this great podcast he did with Roger Deakins.
okay.
Shout out to another podcast. Not saying we're on the same level at all. Team Deakins, great stuff, and Roger Deakins really had this great episode where he talked with Greg Fraser, and it's just two masters, and just talking about how he achieved certain shots of the Batman. And Greg is like, he sounds so cool, man. Like I would just want to shake his hand or meet him, say hi, because he knows what he's doing with cinema.
He definitely does. Yeah, and I having seen this in IMAX, I will make the claim. I've seen it twice in IMAX now. I'll make the claim that this is the best use of IMAX in a movie that I've seen.
Ever?
At least that I've seen. Yeah.
Oh,
Um,
we can't wait for you to watch this on IMAX, Castleman.
yeah.
We may have like
Like
a quick addendum based on my IMAX experience in the later episode.
My God,
stay tuned for that.
like I recently, like before Dune Part 2, I rewatched Dune Part 1 on IMAX. I was like, yeah, that was great. It was actually great to see it on IMAX. Like it was a great experience, but dude, Part 2 on IMAX, it's just a different mind-blowing experience, honestly.
It was really funny. I went to go see it in Dolby, just really quick addendum. I went to see it in
Mhm.
Dolby for the second time, and there was like a little video of Denis Villeneuve talking to the Dolby people, being like, "Ah, yes, watching it in Dolby is the best way to watch Dune." And I was like, "No, it's not. He's lying through his teeth." Maybe if it was an IMAX screen with Dolby speakers, but no
I mean,
way.
the sound on this movie is great. And
Yeah,
It is.
for sure.
It does sound
dude, this is Hans Zimmer's best score in years. I was
Wow.
feeling it. Like Hans Zimmer, I like him, but he's had some ups and downs in recent years, you know? Like
Mhm.
I will say I think his low point in his career was the No Time. Oh, jeez, I got it. I think the low point in his career so far was the No Time to Die score. That was so generic, and like there's a track where it was just so clearly using temp music from Batman, and I was not a big fan of that.
Mm.
Like, but this I don't know. I'm trying to remember the last time a Hans Zimmer score made me feel like this. And like I think he's at his best when he is making scores that are like rattling your like cinema speakers, like rattling like the you are feeling the vibrations of that score. Like I think, and the moment I just keep think I that was hit so hard on both viewings was when after the Water of Life scene when Paul's walking south, like
Mhm.
while and I felt that. I felt that so hard. This I think I'm this might be I think this might be my favorite Hans Zimmer score since Interstellar.
Wow.
I mean, speaking of Hans Zimmer, the theme that plays every time Chani and Paul are together, I don't know, man. It's as much of an impact as Han and Leia's theme at this point. Like,
Oh,
Yeah.
right?
all right. I mean, you know what?
I'd go for it.
Oh wow.
Because I think about this theme like when I'm like walking, when I'm taking my walk to work. I listen to it. It's like, oh my god! And sometimes I hum it to work when I'm working.
I mean, and even like the groundwork he laid in the first film was really strong. It's just like he's
Mhm.
taken that and added to it a level that feels crazy, man. And
He,
you know, we
he
can't.
he added he added some spice. He added some
Yeah,
spice into it.
Yeah.
of course we can't
He,
forget.
just in case Craig didn't pick that up, you played the thing from Dune, the song from Dune,
Dalisan
the
Aligaï.
vocals. Yeah.
Hopefully, Craig did his job.
Hopefully Craig did it. I think he did. I believe in Craig.
Yeah. Shout out to Craig.
Yeah,
We
shout out
love
to
you,
Craig.
Craig. We love
We
you,
love you,
Craig.
Craig.
Shall we shift into we've made allusions to it, but should we officially shift into like a spoiler territory so we can go a
Yeah,
little
I think we
deeper?
should.
Because you
I think
talking
we
about
should.
Paul and Shawnee's relationship makes me want to explore that as a topic even more. So if
Mhm.
you have not seen Dune Part 2, I would suggest you click off the podcast because uh, don't let us be the ones to tell you what happens. Go
Yeah,
see this
go
movie
watch the
for
movie.
yourself. It is
Go
so
watch
much
the
worth it.
movie.
If you're
Yeah.
driving right now, turn your speakers off. I don't care.
Go
Just
let Denis tell the story.
let Denis tell the story. We'll do a
Yeah.
terrible job at it. We're just here to unpack it for you. Um, but so spoilers from here on.
Yeah.
Oh
Okay.
man.
So where do we even begin with spoilers, man? Fuck. Lisa Al Gaib. All right, I think my favorite sequence in this movie, or at least one of them,
Which one? How
is
can you pick?
yeah, I can't pick. I'm gonna take that. Pretend I didn't say that. This isn't my favorite. This is just one of the many great sequences that I love talking about. I really loved the water of life stuff in this movie. Um, like I think the actor that played the Fremen that like killed the worm and like drowned it and shit. She had such a great little role, and I loved her in that.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I feel like she's not getting enough attention in this movie because everyone else is getting so much. We haven't commented on any of the actors, but I wanted to make sure she was the first person to get a shout out.
I don't. She's not in this cast list. I'm looking at it right now. I'm trying to
Yeah.
find her.
Yeah, she deserves her flowers, man. She deserves
Shout
them.
out to
She's
that
great.
lady, whoever you are.
Yeah,
Thumbs up.
whoever you are. I would say your name, but I can't find it.
You know what?
Um.
I'll do some research while you're talking.
All right. So just while we're talking about performances, man, I think this is Timothy Chalamet's best performance of his career. Timothy Chalamet, I was not familiar with your game. Wow.
Dude, he was so good in this. I would almost apologize for shitting on him in Wonka. Almost.
Yeah.
But can you
Um.
imagine though watching Dune Part 2 first and then Wonka? Because remember, it was supposed to be released last year.
Dude, imagine the Dune Part 2 and Wonka double feature.
I'm making chocolate, of course. Oh
Making
my
spice, of course. Um, yeah, man, just Timothy Chalamet. He is an unstoppable force in this film.
dude, the facial
Um,
expressions that he does in this movie.
yeah,
Fuck, man.
just
Like
it
I'm
just
surprised.
I haven't really seen him like this in any other role.
Mhm.
Like really, he just has a ferocity. And I think I like that I can see a lot of pieces of Oscar Isaac's Duke Leto in his performance, but like, you know, with a darker twist. He says I'm not my father, and you can see where he's being he's taking pieces, but just man, like this is like the Anakin Skywalker thing I was about to say in Resident Evil, in Revenge of the Sith. It's like the
This
Anakin
is
Skywalker
there's
thing,
been
but like done right.
there's been some discourse about this. Where it was like, oh, how dare you compare this Anakin? Like, how dare you compare Anakin to Paul? Because,
Yeah,
dude, this is one of the greatest rises at the same time a fall from humanity, even from morality that I've ever seen. Like, it's crazy. And dude, I low key, this is the first time like I've gotten get Timothy Chalamet. Like I loved him in the first one, sure. Like I was like, this is a good role for him. He's fitting here. But I wasn't prepared for how much he was gonna let loose in this movie, because yeah, he's really good. Also,
on oh good.
Allison Stallhead plays the Maker Keeper.
Allison
I
Stallhead, you are the
It took me a
goat.
while. Took me a while to get there. My first search was who is the Worm Lady Dune 2. That didn't really succeed in the results. I finally found her on the IMDb cast list. But yeah,
Oh my
Allison
god.
Stallhead, you did good.
Allison Stallhead, you're the goat. Um, fuck. Sorry, what did you say before that?
Worm Lady?
No, before the Worm Lady. What was the point we made before that?
Oh no, it
Timothy.
was Timothy
Oh,
Chalamet. I like this is. I agree. This is his best performance. I mean, just across the board, this is like so many of the people involved's best performance. This is Zendaya's best performance. This is probably Austin
yeah.
Butler's best performance. This is like so many of the people who are in this movie, I would say it's their best performance.
I
And that's
agree.
staggering. I saw this tweet
Yeah.
that said, who gives the best performance in Dune 2? Probably whoever is on screen at the moment.
Anya Taylor Joy.
I mean, come on, Emil, your favorite performance, Christopher Walken. You know, the
Oh
way he
yeah.
says,
Okay, well, maybe not the best Christopher Walken
Muad'Dib.
performance, but you know, he has a vibe to him. I think it works.
no, I will
Yeah,
say he has a good shot though. The shot on him on the throne, really good shot.
yeah.
Like
Good
like
shot.
he's a cranky old emperor.
Yeah.
I mean,
What,
I
what
don't.
about
I
I love the little scene where a little shot where he's like he gets the note from Paul, and then he just like looks at that shit and puts it on the ground, and then he
he
just
just
walks
drops that
past.
shit.
He just like puts it on the ground and like walks past it, and then Irulan picks it up. I love that. He has just such a presence.
Yeah.
Actually, before this movie came out, Renzo and I were speaking, and I told him that I was a little concerned about about Christopher Walken in the role. I was like, I feel like it's like weird casting, but I was wrong. He was great.
No, it
Yeah.
was so good.
What deed?
But
Deep.
Muad'Dib. But let's talk about I think the standout newcomer in this cast, Elvis himself, Austin Butler.
Not bad.
Such a good dude. This is one of the best villains ever.
Yeah.
20 minutes of screen time. Holy crap.
And like he doesn't
Yeah.
even show up till halfway through the movie, but like once
Yeah.
his first scene, you're like, oh
Yeah.
shit.
You're like
Oh,
you know that
shit.
one you know that one picture of the gamer getting up in their chair? Like that's literally me when I saw Naber and Phaedra on screen. Dude, like I was like I was watching this movie the first time and I was like and just a testament to the film's pacing. Like you said, he doesn't show up till like halfway in the movie. I was so locked in. I like when he showed up, I was like, "Oh yeah, he's in this movie!" Like, and he was one of the most pieces I was most excited for.
Dude,
Dude, and like you almost feel the build up to him.
yeah.
Like even when
Yeah.
he's not mentioned, you like feel something is worse is coming because like you know you're locked in with Paul and you know him getting used to the Fremen, but then you're like, oh shit, what's coming? What's coming? You know
Yeah,
what's gonna fuck all of this up? And then you see him, and it's like, okay. And I just want to point out, like, both of our Fade Rothas have been technically played by musicians. Because first you had Sting, and then you had Elvis.
um, I wanted to, yeah, Fade Rautha just. Sorry, I like fully forgot the point I was gonna say, like as I was saying it in the middle of my sentence. So
That's all right.
But
go ahead.
when I mentioned Gady Prime, the Black Sun,
Yeah. Oh my
dude,
god.
Dude,
the
I didn't even notice it
infrared
on my first viewing, but when they're going into the light, you can
color,
when you see the color fading away
Yeah.
right?
by the light.
My God,
Dude.
Oh, that is again. I mean, Greg Fraser. Who are you?
Yeah.
I don't
How do you-
understand.
How do you
I
do
need-
this?
For all I know, this movie looks like those scenes look like they were shot under a black sun. It was maybe a filter. It was maybe just color correction, but it looks like how they somehow figured a way to light it like that. That's how
What?
dark and crazy it looks like.
So I watched a video about this. Apparently, what they did is they shot in like you know, like when you use like a camcorder and you go into like night mode and it's like black and white,
Infrared.
like night vision, like infrared.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's like what they did for this scene. And one of the things Denis said is he went to the studio and he was like, "Hey, just letting you guys know, when we shoot this, I mean, we shoot it like this, we're committing to keeping it in black and white because we can't change it after that." So that was a big creative swing, and I think it was a home run.
Well, I mean, it's a black and white sequence. I mean, I love Oppenheimer, of course, but it's a black and white sequence that isn't just it's the first time I've seen a black and white sequence in a movie that is tied into the universal look of the movie.
Yeah,
It ties into like it's a way where the black and white isn't just a way to set a tone, it's world building.
yeah, exactly.
And that's incredible. Name another movie where black and white is specifically. What's the only other movie where I can say that black and white is like being used to tell part of the story like this and tell part of the world? The
What?
only movie I can think of other than this is the 1998 Tobey Maguire movie Pleasantville.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're
That's the only
right.
one I can think of off the top of my head.
I've never seen
I didn't think
Pleasantville,
about that.
so I've got to
Pleasantville's
add that
great.
to the list.
We may do an episode on Pleasantville because I love that movie.
I love
Okay.
that movie too. I'd love to.
That's an
Oh,
excuse for me to watch it.
I remember my point from earlier. So one of the things I was going to talk about in terms of adaptational changes, I actually really like the choice to like not include Fade Rautha earlier in the story.
Yeah.
Um, uh, in the book, Fade Rautha is in one of the first couple of chapters, and you kind of like know that the Baron's going to give Arrakis to Fade Rautha from early on, at least
No.
much earlier than you do in the film.
Well, I love that because here's the thing: if he was in Dune Part 1, because I saw someone complaining about he
Yeah.
wasn't in Dune Part 1, he would literally just been in a background character in one scene.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah,
that the way
I
to
agree.
introduce your main your final, you know,
The final
uh,
boss, literally,
your
like
final boss? You know, you don't introduce him as a background character in one scene, and you don't have him do nothing until the fight, besides wearing a winged little crotch piece.
A G-string.
A G-string, yeah.
yeah.
But like, how do you guys feel about Chani and Paul's romance? Because it kind of fucked me up, bro. Because I think that was one of the
Yeah.
reasons I walked out going like, what the fuck is going on here? But I after the second viewings, I think it's one of the best tragic romances we've had in a while.
Yeah.
Maybe one of the best in a blockbuster period. Because we don't have a lot of those in blockbuster. Usually, you just have like some generic, quippy romance that's generic, and there's one kiss at the end.
No,
I agree with you.
they really nailed it. Like you can tell like Paul was really falling, like both of them were falling in love at the crucial moment when Paul needs to go to the south, and like the way how they promise each other, like it's heartbreaking that Paul doesn't actually fulfill that promise. Like no matter how
Yeah.
much he says that he loves Chani, he just doesn't go for it. I don't know. It's heartbreaking to see him just this prophecy just took over Paul by the end,
I,
and it's
I kind
sad.
of saw it like I kind of saw it a little differently. I think I more read it as like Paul at this point is sort of rejecting his humanity. I mean, you go back to that Gom Jabbar scene at the beginning of the first movie, and
Mm.
even in this film when they test Fade Rautha, you're testing for your humanity. You know, like that's what that scene
Oh,
is meant to
which
represent.
which
And
I will
Paul.
say since oh go ahead, sorry.
Oh no, no, finish your thought, Kafka.
Because literally I noticed something with the Gom Jabbar scene from part one and part two.
Mm-hmm.
Like in part one, like with Paul's Gom Jabbar scene, like there's like a struggle for like him having that test, like the build up for that test.
Mm-hmm.
But in part two with Fade Ralpha, at first there's the struggle, but then Ralpha was starting to be like submissive, and it becomes kind of hypnotic. Like even the way how it's shot, so like he's being so entranced with it. And like upon rewatching it like today, I noticed like it's weird. Like it's a different one from part one, from
Yeah.
like the Gom Jabbar sequence. I'm like, God dang, Vinny,
Yeah.
you're great.
Yeah. But yeah, I read the that scene as him rejecting his humanity, and making this like massive political play that I think he knows is gonna cost the well, I don't think he know I know he knows that it's gonna cost the lives of all those the millions and billions of people. That's the what Rebecca Ferguson's character says at the end. It's the holy war that
But
they
I
speak about
also
earlier in
read
the
it
film.
as this desperation because he doesn't want to go south. I do feel that because
Yeah.
he
Oh,
literally
of course,
says,
of course.
if I go south, I may lose you," and he does. And the way that they changed it from the book in terms of him like really scared of like the fundamentalists and really because he knows what's coming and he doesn't want it to happen, but then he's just forced into this narrow lane that he has to go through if he wants to see any outcome that is even remotely pleasant. And it's still a terrible outcome, and it's just sometimes about how this movie is so heartbreaking in many ways. And I it's a lot to feel about because one thing I forgot to mention is that in the week I saw this on the Thursday it came out, and then today we're recording this on a Thursday, and so it's been a week in between my two viewings. And I will say, in that week, I read the entirety of the Dune book. I finally sat down and read it cover to cover. And the adaptational changes they make they're different from the book. A lot of them are different. There's some scenes that are like all the scenes from the book are there in sometimes slightly different orders. The changes they make are genius for changing this. In a way, you could say that even though this strays away from the text of the book, by straying away from the text of the book, it goes closer to the theme of the book. And I feel like Frank Herbert would be happy with it. Especially in terms of how some people have misinterpreted how the story of Dune is. Because in our first episode of the podcast, we talked about the two other versions of this story. Where they interpret it as, both of them, Lynch and even Jodorowsky, both interpret it as Paul's actually the Messiah. Because, of course, Jodorowsky had his whole thing where, like, oh, now Paul is, Paul saves the planet and it goes floating by his death, and it goes floating through the galaxy covered in greenery now. And then, of course, it rains for the first time on Arrakis after Paul becomes the Kiswas Haderach. Both of those are saying, yeah, he really is a real Messiah. This is a real thing. While this movie is the first one to put ambiguity there and say this is probably all Bene Gesserit bullshit, because this is the first one that really gets the point. This is the one that first gets the point that maybe holy wars and messiahs that incite jihads are bad things. And that was a theme that was very strongly in the book. I was wondering if it was more ambiguous in the book, seeing that both of those two other people didn't get it. But it's not very ambiguous in the book. The book is very honest with what this is. This is not great.
I remember texting you guys, like, when I was, like, finishing the book as well. Like, I'm so surprised, like, a lot of people misinterpreted this. Like, what? Like,
and the way they changed Chani to be the one who's delivering that theme, because originally in the book she's just a love interest. She doesn't do too much. She has a couple of cool moments, but she's not the. A few people would read that book and see she's one of the best characters. Plenty of people are going to watch this movie and say she is the best character.
Yeah.
Because they changed her to be... She still loves Paul. You still believe it, but at the same time, she still has her beliefs and her fears. And, like, dude, this, like, that scene when Paul is going on his rant in the Fremen place down south, and the way she's feeling, it's like it's like Natalie Portman in Revenge of the Sith. This is how democracy dies, with thunderous applause, but done like non-memey. If I'm allowed to say that. I like Revenge of the Sith, don't hate me, but Dune Part 2 is a better movie, let's be real.
It is,
Star Wars for them.
Yeah. Star Wars about Dune, but you feel it, man. Like, the amount that they go through to show both sides of her, and how conflicted she is, and how Zendaya plays it. It's unbelievable, man.
Yeah, pretty much. This is one of the best movies ever made. Yeah. Yeah, this is one of the best movies ever made. That's kind of what I'm thinking.
And how rare is this? Like, how rare is it to have, like, a giant blockbuster that is so mentally challenging? Like, it challenges your perspectives on your hero. Like, you think, like, if you see part 1, it's like, oh, a hero's journey. Like, I like how when Denis promoted Dune Part 1, he basically kept telling, oh, when I was a kid, I read this book, like Paul Atreides. I saw myself into Paul, like his journey of becoming a man, a hero. And And when he's promoting part two, he's basically just saying that, you know, these types of heroes, like you should never like Paul is an anti-hero. Like in some ways he's a villain. Like you should
Part one
No.
was made by the Denis who loved the book as a kid.
yeah.
And part two was made by the adult Denis who really wanted
Uh,
to show how complex and scary the ramifications of the book was that maybe he didn't always
Yeah.
realize as a kid.
I love that. I love
um,
that. I love what you said. You got it right.
like, but at the same time, I think part one felt a lot colder and a lot more distant, and I think that that was quite accurate to the book in terms of where Paul's at in that section of the book.
Mhm.
But part two just feels like it just breathes life into this character.
Yeah.
And I think one of the reasons I think I appreciate Dune 1 a lot more now is I thought that that was Timothy Chalamet's performance, but no, that's just how the character is, and that's how he's meant to be written.
Mhm.
That he is a character who is intentionally cold and distant, and Denis shot it in that way intentionally.
Yeah.
Um, it all goes back to intention, and you can feel that in this movie, in all aspects of it. I
I mean, the
mean,
intention is very important because okay, there is one major adaptation. There's only one other adaptation that really felt like this movie.
Mhm.
And
what's that?
it's probably the highest praise I can dish out because especially on this viewing, this felt exactly like the type of changes that Peter Jackson made to the Lord of the Rings trilogy. It's the exact type of changes that if you, especially in movies like Two Towers, because I do believe this is the two towers of the Dune trilogy, especially in terms of certain things and certain changes. The type of like adaptational decisions that Denis is making are very much analogous to what Peter Jackson and Fran Walsh and everyone who worked on Lord of the Rings were making, because they're all finely tuned into both respecting the hell out of the book, but also changing what needed to be changed for the sake of cinema.
Yeah.
And I and this is the highest praise I could give a movie, because if you need to know one thing about me, the Lord of the Rings trilogy is my favorite film, or my favorite films of all time. And Dune, we're talking about was the last time we really felt like a sci-fi fantasy or escapism blockbuster really gave us this feeling. And there are movies that were pure escapist sci-fi or fantasy, though there are those existed, but none of them I don't think have been quite as powerful or epic or so accomplished in everything they showcase in terms of what filmmaking can be, in my opinion, not since the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's movie magic at its finest. Like I really felt like a kid in the movie theater again when I
And
watched this
it's
film.
and it's just good, like good screenplay adaptation if you think about it. Like the way how Denis has to basically, you know, move certain parts from the book to basically serve a better story.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's
Um,
like if you think about it, that's a very like stressful, like creative thing. Like I could imagine, like even for you guys, if you want to adapt something like you, Castleman, like that's a challenge, right? To basically like move certain parts in other moment. So
It is.
yeah.
Because
He
like
adapted
sometimes
the
as
hell
an
out of the
adaptation,
screenplay.
I have written adaptations. I won't say which because they're
mhm.
I don't know if they're ready. And of course, I don't have the rights yet or anything. But I've written adaptations just as almost practices,
Yeah.
and it's a lot because people who the big book people are always like, oh, it's better than if you it's exactly like the book, or this needs to be exactly like the book. No. Sometimes to pay most respect to the book, you have to be willing to change it because
Yeah.
you gotta think. Okay, the book is telling the story in the best way it could be told in book form. How can I tell this story in the best way in film form?
Mm.
And I feel like Denis Villeneuve had that in mind making this, because these are all changes I feel like you could defend for the sake of filmmaking itself.
Um, I had a class today actually where my professor said that the act of reading is like directing a movie in your head. And I feel like that's very fitting for this because I think this is like what this movie is the movie that Denis Villeneuve saw in his head when he read these books as a kid, and you can feel it. Like it's just there's so much love and appreciation and understanding of the story at its core, and this spreads into the performances. I will say, because the fact that Denis knows the story as well as he does means that the actors and that he makes sure the actors know the story as well as he does, and it's so clear they do because they're all like that seeps into the performances,
Yeah,
knowing their place in the story.
this movie's special, man. Like
Yeah,
I felt yeah.
Forgot to
and we can.
mention.
Oh, go ahead,
Oh, sorry.
Enzo.
I forgot to
No, go
mention
ahead.
how great was Rebecca Ferguson in this one, though. Like I know we
Yeah.
talked about Timmy and others, but oh my, I have
um,
never been scared to, Lady Jessica in such a long time.
I love the scene of her in the basket on the sandworm. Like that's just such a funny image to me.
Yeah.
But after she takes the water of life, dude, just the energy shift in her performance is
Right?
like you can feel it. She's like scary, you know. She doesn't feel like the same character that you saw earlier in the film, or even in the previous film, at all. And like the demeanor, like she's like seen some shit, getting all the memories of all the Bene Gesserit in the past. Um, man, and
I
you can
don't.
see a similar shift in Paul after
Yeah.
he does it
I
too.
I like the reactions of the Fremen. Like whenever like she's
Yeah,
speaking to herself, it's like I found that funny
that
for
was
some
really
reason.
funny. Yeah,
It's fucked up, but it's funny. Yeah.
Yeah. I so, if you had the opportunity to go to Arrakis, what would you what do you think you'd take that would really mess up the mind of the Fremen? Because just
like
imagine
with
going to
me.
yeah, just imagine if I just went with like a glass of like Mountain Dew and just this green liquid. How do you think the Fremen would feel about that? And
I'm pretty
I
sure their
just
minds would explode.
yeah, because water of life, you know, the water of life looks like blue Powerade, right? What what
Yeah.
what would adding a green liquid to their to their you know hydration dictionary? You know, what if I just show up at the same time Paul's starting his jihad with a bottle of Mountain Dew?
A bottle of Baja Blast.
Yeah, just a bottle of Baja Blast. And just like he may have drunk the water of life, but I drink the water of death. And I chug the Diet Mountain Dew.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'd bring Coca Cola instead. I couldn't lie.
What if Powerade is the water of life and Diet Mountain Dew is the water of death? What is Cola?
Wait, maybe Coca
Oh
Cola
man.
is for the Harkonnens. I think.
Maybe
No, they
maybe
do
that's maybe
Pepsi.
that's what maybe that's what the Baron is bathing in.
Oh,
He's bathing in Pepsi. Can you just imagine Stellan Skarsgård bathing in a tub of Pepsi?
I mean, I can see him do that.
I mean, I want to know what they use for that shit on set, man.
Tar.
He probably didn't enjoy that.
You probably didn't, whatever it was.
Yeah, it's like
Um,
I get
you know,
paid
you
They
here.
could.
know,
What if
you
they?
know, the kiss was improvised.
Yeah, I know. That was
Yeah,
well. I mean, apparently there's like an incestuous undertone to them in the book, so. Uh, 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 um,
Yeah, yikes.
just imagine if what he's debating is like really dark chocolate, so he can feel like Augustus Gloop and Charlie in the Chocolate Factory.
oh god. It
It
all
all
connects
comes
to
back to
Wonka.
Willy Wonka, Timothy
it all
Chalamet.
comes back. God. Let's focus on happy thoughts right now, Castleman. I don't want
No,
to think about Wonka right now.
I'm just imagining a sequel to Wonka, where that's just a straight adaptation of the original story, where Augustus Gloop is played by Stellan Skarsgård in his Baron costume, and he falls into
Yeah.
Timmy's chocolate river.
Watch
Castleman, please never say that sentence ever again.
watch
Like, do me
Wonka
that
2
favor,
and
please.
You know, and but because he's the Baron, he can just levitate out of the chocolate river and get revenge on the Oompa Loompas.
Yeah.
Castleman. What if
my
Castleman
factory?
Castleman? What if Wonka 2 and Dune Messiah when those movies come out back to back?
Oh boy.
Oh man, I can't wait.
Yeah, and
Oh,
Wonka 2, you know, in the first one he learned how to read. The next one his main character arc will be learning how to write.
oh no.
God,
And
I just watched the
in the
movie.
final in the Timothy Chalamet Wonka trilogy, he learns how to do how to do simple addition.
I kind of want to rewatch Wonka. Not gonna lie.
I don't. I don't. But Timothy
Oh man,
Chalamet, you redeem yourself with this movie. Like,
Uh,
holy crap.
You're
yeah.
like, I forgive you, Timmy.
I forgive
Sorry,
you. Paul King,
sorry,
it's your
Timmy.
turn for redemption next, please.
Yeah.
He's not
Well,
returning to Paddington 3, right?
I wish.
Oh god.
Paddington 3 was already
well,
filming.
Oh,
Another reason to
Paddington
dislike
4.
Wonka. He stepped away from Paddington 3 to make Wonka.
Wow. Well,
Anyway,
do we have anything else to say on Dune Part 2?
I mean, I feel like
uh,
we've gotten to a point where we're just sort of talking about Baron Harkonnen swimming in the chocolate rivers.
So I think I mean, and we can and will talk about this for as long as we need to, but
Baron
I think
Harkonnen swimming
we'll,
in the chocolate river.
yeah, exactly that.
How do you feel?
What are you gonna ask, Castleman? Ask me. Say it.
No, I'll keep it to myself.
okay.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Well,
No, but
um,
it's Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, but you replace all the spoiled kids of Harkonnens.
Oh
So
no.
so we have Fade as,
the men
as
tap
the
Peter
Raban.
DeVries.
Raban.
you know
Robot.
Raban blows up like a blueberry,
Oh
and
no.
and Fade gets thrown down a garbage chute with squirrels.
All right. You know, Warner Bros. Give us money, we'll make this movie.
Mm.
Um,
But it has to be the cast
so
of Dune Part 2.
it has to be the cast of Dune Part 2, and then we also have to tie it into the Dune cinematic universe.
I,
Um,
I, I
It's
have a
in a strange parallel world that's in between both the Wonka universe and the Dune universe.
yeah, the unknown shows up.
The exact midpoint.
wait.
Yeah,
Before we end, I have a question. Castleman. So, are you a fan of the change of Aaliyah within the David Lynch version? Like she was a child, but in this one she's a fetus.
I
Oh,
keep her as a fetus. I'm okay with that.
yeah,
You know, because I mean, honest, I'm sorry, but like one of the most nutter moments in the David Lynch one is Aliyah just shows up and is like, "I'm a little girl and I'm gonna kill you," and it's like, what the hell? And I think Villeneuve was very wise to just not
mm,
have it, because
sure,
you
I
could do
agree.
without it, and it makes the movie a little less, you know,
silly.
the need to tone down things a little bit, and he was
Yeah,
smart in the ways he toned it out. He didn't cut it of its weirdness. This is still a weird movie. You
yeah,
know, it has an army of giant worms attacking a bunch of people. You know, which is, but that shot was crazy. Um, but it very smartly knows when to not do things.
mm,
Yeah,
good point. Good point.
good point.
Again, just as Denis Villeneuve was smart not to include a crazy little child killing the Baron. Peter Jackson was also smart to not include Tom Bombadil, the yellow hat man who is invincible to the plot.
Oh man, can't wait to watch Lord of the Rings. Um, all right, well, if that's all of our thoughts on Dune Part 2, I think we should call it here. Thank you guys
Masterpiece
so much
movie.
for
Loved
listening.
it so much.
Masterpiece movie.
I mean, I could talk about this movie for 5 more hours, but none of it would be comprehensible. So
Yeah, so
I
we'll
got
end
out
here.
everything worth hearing here.
Yeah,
Yeah. All right.
likewise.
Well, thank you guys for chatting and listening. We
There it is.